All right, let's just turn to newspapers now and see how the new editions of the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age have fared in the first week of sale. James, looking at this, obviously you were talking about this last week. How have they performed since the
Well, we think they've done pretty well. There was feedback from a lot of news agents at retail on Monday that they'd sold out of their all their allocations. A lot of the sub-agents that news agents service also wanted some more copies, and a lot of the news agents couldn't give their own customers more, or their sub-agents, which is they supply. So that's sort of good news from for Fairfax. But there hasn't been a lot of nothing official's come out yet this week, so it takes a fair while to get back your sort of accurate sales figures. So maybe they're waiting till they've got some good data before they want to put anything out to the market.
And there was quite a few other initiatives as well released this week.
Yeah, look, absolutely. They just didn't do the newspapers. They had new home pages for their massive web, the sort of front end of the business online, the SMH and the age.com.au, both new home pages there, a lot less clutter. So they've put out evening tablet editions of their newspaper, so about 6 o'clock at night you can get a completely refreshed tablet edition. I guess that's for commuters or people just getting home, placing the old evening newspaper, and also like a news blog every morning for especially for people on their mobile phones.
Just looking, I guess, obviously the Australian Financial Review also being pushed into the spotlight too, a redesign's coming and a price increase.
Yeah, they're lifting the retail cover price from $3 to $3.30. It'd be for casual purchases only, so if you've got a subscription to the Financial Review, you won't be affected. You'll still pay the same price, and a complete redesign of the newspaper. It'll be out from next Monday.
Just on the whole debate about tabloid, compact, obviously looking at this, is there a difference, from what we've seen so far, particularly in Victoria, where we've seen the coverage of the Victorian
I think so, and it's I don't think it's one's better than the other. I think it's just a different way of treating the news, perhaps, and it might come down to if you own a story, maybe you go bigger on it. But the Herald Sun will really jump onto a story, try and completely own it. It'll just dedicate. I think today, Thursday, they had the first 9 pages of the newspaper. They just a whole big splash on the front cover, and it looks great, and I think it's a great selling point, something that paper's always done very well. Then the Age is a bit more conservative, if you like. They'll still have a more conventional front cover, and I think that's at the moment the difference between the two.
Yeah. Let's just get some more on this, and of course also News Limited pushing on with its own restructure to manage the digital transformation, moving to a one city, one newsroom plan, and 7-day newsrooms a key part of that. Well, here to update us on how that's going, we are joined by Campbell Reid, the Group Director Editorial at News Limited. Campbell, thanks so much for your time. Just firstly though, of course, on the Herald Sun, the big exclusive this week that's effectively brought about the resignation of the Victorian Premier. Was this handled differently under the new structure?
No, it was handled in traditional News Limited fashion, and as James was just mentioning, in typical Herald Sun fashion. Our response to the Fairfax initiatives to become a tabloid was to compete through the one weapon that we had to fire, which was great, energetic journalism. We had no idea on Sunday just how big a story was about to unfold in Victoria, but the energy that the Herald Sun team put in getting that story in the first place and prosecuting it is there for all to see. It totally dominated the media landscape in Victoria, as it should have, and has now resulted in this extraordinary decision by the Premier to step down.
Campbell, I guess that answers my question. It was a bit of a coincidence that it happened on Monday, the same day as the first compact, but it was a good thing to be able to lead with on Monday?
Well, look, as I said, we weren't changing format or doing anything in terms of sort of our structure or our appearance, but don't think for a second that we've been sitting around waiting for a good story to happen into our lap to have on Sunday night. We've been planning for this. Our marketing response to the Fairfax initiatives has been absolutely thorough. Anybody in Victoria or Sydney will notice our front pages live on the being updated every day across the city on bus shelters, and our determination to be the most vibrant and well-loved and well-used newspaper company in both Sydney and Victoria and Melbourne is absolutely rock solid. And look, we're having the time of our lives. We love a newspaper battle, and it's so far we think in the journalism stakes the points in our corner. And in terms of the newspapers themselves, I think, and you know, forgive me, this is a kind of, I would say this, wouldn't I? I think the Age and the SMH have been so careful in presenting themselves as the responsible newspapers they've always been. In confronted by these big stories, they've been very muted, in my view.
Just in terms, I guess, of the new form, though, I mean, obviously there's all the, the debate about the future of newspapers in printed form, but there's seen quite a lot of resurgence with the focus on the new size for those Fairfax papers. Of course, last weekend, the Sunday Australian edition, that special one-off as well, and everyone out in the streets there, promoting those various new products. So, I mean, looking at the actual change to this sort of compact, what's your thinking on it?
Well, anything that can remind the Australian market that newspapers are an incredibly vibrant category, not only in print but across all of their digital platforms. One of my enduring frustrations with many of my colleagues is we're far too happy to indulge in this conversation about the demise of the newspaper industry. The newspaper industry has never been more energised or more vibrant or had more opportunities to get its stories to market than ever before. This is an extraordinarily exciting time for us, and Fairfax, good on them for adding some energy into that debate by having taken the risk to change format. It's great for the category.
Campbell, you've been at the heart of the development of News Limited's developing digital strategies. How far are you down that path? Is there still much more to go? And what's been the reaction from readers and the staff to what you've implemented so far?
Look, we have been through as big a structural change within our newsrooms and with our newspapers and our staff as I would say any newspaper company in the world. And it's also true to say that we're only just beginning, and that the state of change, I think, is just here forever. If you look at the way people are consuming our information now on tablets and on mobile phones, and how their habits and behaviours are changing almost daily as to what kind of information they want to consume, we are determined to position our news gathering and storytelling organisation to meet those consumer needs. Our staff have been extraordinarily patient with us as we've experimented, changed things, changed newsroom structures, let them know that the newsroom structure that we changed a week ago we might just change again as new things come into the market, particularly our major investment in a new publishing system which we'll be rolling out within about 6 weeks or so. So there is a sense of great energy, but no denying also of great turmoil.
You now have 7-day newsrooms. Just in terms of the Sunday newspaper network, has that lessened their editorial fighting power at all? Obviously they used to have their own dedicated teams.
Yes. Let me just say this about the Sunday network. News Limited's Sunday network commands the biggest media organisation, biggest media audience of any media in Australia. More than 5 million people read our Sunday newspapers every Sunday. They are the heavyweight champions of the media landscape in Australia, and the 7-day newsroom is designed specifically to empower the Sunday newspapers, not disempower them. And so the notion that the Sundays are the last carriage in our train is absolutely wrong. They are the jewel in our crown, and the reorganisation as the newsrooms has been driven to ensure that they have access to all of the resources that they need to be the powerhouse media operation in this country going into the future.
There's been some encouraging signs in the US about the move to paid online content, or premium paywalls, people call it lots of different things. Has News Limited still got some big decisions ahead, and when will we see sort of subscription initiatives rolled out for online?
We've got some big decisions ahead. We are in the process of making those decisions, and yes, you will see our subscription model rolled out as quickly as we can finalise it, and that's within a very short period of time. I won't give you an exact date because we're getting our ducks in a row. But I think the interesting thing will be that Australia will be almost unique in the world in that both us and Fairfax will be major newspaper companies charging for our content across all of our channels at the same time. So it's going to be a very energised but very level playing field, and so it'll be interesting to see how the consumers react to that. We think our experiment so far with the Australian and the Herald Sun, the propensity for people to pay for high quality content is absolutely proven, and we need to make sure that the content that we take to sale absolutely hits a sweet spot with what those consumers want.
Just on regulation, we are expecting Senator Conroy to detail the government's media reforms to editorial regulation and industry ownership limits. I mean, obviously we've been waiting for this for a while now. Are you getting any sense that it is going to be announced soon, or do you think it's going to be too big a battle for the government in an election year?
Look, we've been living in an environment now for well over a year of the government any day now is going to finalise its position on media regulation, and it's fair to say that yes, we are hearing that the government still has it as a live item on its agenda. Our view is well known in that Australia is a robust, free democracy with very good competition regulation and very adequate press standard arrangements already in place. But we are hearing that it's still on the government's agenda, but we're not sure where they're going to go with it.
All right, thank you so much for joining us today, Campbell Reid.
Pleasure, thank you.
Do stay with us. Coming up on Media Week, Fox Sports launches its NRL season.